Hi guys, it's Tav from Shine Bright Design, and today I'm doing a commentary on the progress of my revamp of my pencil drawer. So I have this drawer from Mont, and it's made for pastel pencils or pastels, and I basically pulled this whole drawer apart and I'm going to revamp it. What you guys will notice with all my pencil collections is that I have wooden boxes and they're all dark, so I didn't like it that this box was the only one that stood out, so I decided to revamp it and make it a dark box. And the way I did that was I got some two types of sanding paper, so a harder grit and a softer grit, and what I did was I sanded off all the rough edges just to make sure there was nothing hanging out. I made sure that the wood was smooth and even, and I just made sure that it was really clean, so I cleaned up all the edges. While I was doing this, I was being very careful not to make the corners of the edges too round and making sure that it was still quite square. Now, of course, this type of commentary isn't a how-to video, but I guess what you guys can do is watch this and kind of learn from it if you want to revamp your box as well. Because I know a lot of people have these boxes and they're very like plain and boring, and you know, maybe you want to varnish it and make it look schmick. So the thing about these drawers is that not all of it is made out of proper wood. There is that tray, which is the backing of the pencil trays, and that piece of material isn't smart for varnishing. So when it comes to varnishing, I recommend avoiding that piece, because what will happen is if you get water into that piece, it will start to warp. So a lot of people have said that their trays have warped in the past, and maybe that's because of moisture. There's really nothing you can do. If your trays warp, you should just take out the backing and replace it with something else that is proper, more like MDF. I'm not sure what that material is, but it's definitely not proper MDF, and it's made of something that has a fiber in it that once it gets wet, it will warp when it dries. So I do recommend, if you really want your box to be super watertight and not warp, I recommend taking out the backing and replacing it with something of the same size and dimension. So I didn't do that because I felt that I'm not in an area where my box gets a lot of humidity and heat. I often put my pencils not in the sun so they won't warp. So that's also another thing. Make sure your pencils aren't in the sun, they're not in areas that fluctuate in heat and temperature, because obviously when it's hot and cold, things expand and retract, so obviously it will warp in that sense. I have even like cardboard boxes that are packaging that warp because I leave them in the sun, because obviously even heat will make things, you know, retract and expand. So that's just a little tip there for you. So obviously I'm sanding, I am cleaning everything up, both ends, bottom and top. I'm not really fussed on the bottom, you will see in this video, because no one sees the bottom, but you guys can be all fussy if you like. The inside of the trays, that slot piece, the two slot pieces, that isn't proper wood either, so I don't recommend getting any varnish on that, because that also may warp. So my focus on revamping for this project is only the exterior. I know it's a bit like excessive by revamping this box, because it only cost me $50, yes, and if I did ruin it, I just buy a new one, but I just wanted all my pencil boxes to be the same or be very similar, and you know, not one that just you look at and think what doesn't belong. I wanted it to kind of belong. So you can see as I'm putting the varnish on, this is a lacquer. So it has a brown varnish in it, and it has a lacquer, so it's got that glossy finish afterwards. Now with this, you have to work in very thin layers, and you have to also be very careful not to get it onto the backing tray, because obviously they'll warp. So try not to get it in there. I did make a mistake here and there, but obviously looking at the end finish, it didn't really warp it in the end. So because I didn't spill all this lacquer on the whole backing, the backing didn't warp. As long as you don't saturate the whole thing with liquid or lacquer, it won't warp. So just be careful as much as you can and try to get minimal amount of varnish onto the backing. Obviously the sides I did, but it didn't really affect anything. So this is a very long process. It says that you need to give it, I believe, you need to give 24 hours between every coat. And if you're patient enough, definitely do that. I did it with a heat gun, so it was a lot quicker. And then I took off the handles and I put in new ones. And I recommend getting, I think I got 20 mil handles or 30 mil. I'll confirm that and put the description, all those details in the description box below. After those 3 days, I let the varnish dry, and then I got a wood oil and I just polished it up. And that is my revamped Mont pencil box. I also got some vinyl tiles. So this is just vinyl tile sheets, and they're adhesive sheets. So I got them and I cut them up and I put them on the bottom just to protect everything. And then I laid out my pencils. Voila! This is my pencil box, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this. I will make sure that I put in all the materials in the box below if you're thinking of doing this. It's a really easy type of project, and I have no woodwork experience. I just went in with it and I enjoyed it very much. So if you like this video, guys, like, subscribe, comment as always, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!